All over the world, we're hearing about countries exploring things like 4-day work weeks. But in Greece, the story is, well, it's heading in the complete opposite direction. A pretty controversial new law now allows for a 13-hour workday. So what's going on here? Is this a desperate move to exploit workers, or is it some kind of bold strategy for economic recovery? Let's get into it.
It's such a huge contrast, right? While a lot of Europe is testing out shorter work weeks, Greece is actually formalizing 6-day weeks and 13-hour days. Now, this move has sparked nationwide strikes, which is no surprise. But the real reason behind this law, well, it's buried in a fact that's going to flip some common stereotypes right on their head.
And that right there is the central puzzle. Because contrary to some of those old stereotypes, the data shows that Greeks are already among the hardest working people in all of Europe. So, if they're already working so much, why on earth would the government push them to work even longer hours? That's the core question we need to answer.
Okay, so first things first, let's just look at the raw numbers, because they paint a picture that honestly completely shatters those old, lazy stereotypes about Greek workers.
Get this, by the numbers, Greeks are actually one of the hardest working populations on the entire planet. According to the OECD, they rank 5th globally for annual hours worked, and Eurostat data shows that 1 in 5 Greeks works over 45 hours a week. That's the highest rate in the entire EU. So, yeah, the problem clearly isn't a lack of effort. Okay, so if Greeks are already working their tails off, why the new law? The answer, it seems, lies in this official story we've been hearing about a Greek economic miracle. For the past few years, the headlines have been buzzing about this major comeback after more than a decade of crisis.
Now, to really get this recovery, you've got to remember just how bad things were. After the 2008 financial crisis, Greece's national debt just spiraled out of control. The result was years and years of what's called austerity, basically huge cuts in government spending and public services, and it just devastated the economy. GDP collapsed, unemployment soared, and the national debt hit some truly terrifying levels.
But then, in just the last few years, the story completely changed. Between 2021 and 2024, Greece's economic growth has consistently outpaced the euro area average. So on the surface, it looks like a massive success story, right? Like all that pain was finally paying off.
And you can really see that success in a key number, the debt-to-GDP ratio. It has dropped significantly from its peak. So with positive growth and falling debt, everything seems to be on the right track, right?
But, and this is a big but, when you actually dig underneath those shiny headlines, you find a very different story. Turns out, this growth is being powered by a specific kind of work that's creating a whole new set of problems.
Yeah, a recent study actually calls it Greece's cafe economy. Between 2009 and 2023, jobs in tourism-related industries shot up by a massive 87%. But the actual economic value those jobs added, that grew by only 11%. So what does that mean? It means way more people are working, but they're producing way less economic value.
And that, as you can imagine, has some really serious consequences. During that same period, overall labor productivity actually fell by 16%. And what's even worse, real wages just collapsed by anywhere from 26 to 35%. And all this was made worse by things like wage freezes and weaker unions, which were all part of those austerity measures from before.
And this whole economic model, well, it has a devastating human cost. Today, wages in Greece are some of the lowest in the EU, and the country ranks second to last for purchasing power. Think about it. Nearly half of all households can't afford the basics. This has fueled this massive brain drain, with over 1 million working-age people just packing and leaving the country for better opportunities somewhere else.
Which brings us right back to where we started. So you're facing a productivity slump, labor shortages because of that brain drain, and a workforce that's really struggling with low wages. So what did the government do? They introduced this new labor law.
So, the bill is officially called the Fair Work for All Law. Its most controversial part allows employees to work up to 13 hours a day, but only in specific situations. And it's a reform that's aimed squarely at those sectors we were just talking about, the ones with lots of jobs but low productivity, like tourism.
So, okay, how does this actually work? Well, that 13-hour day, it's only allowed if an employee has jobs with more than one employer. The law also makes a 6-day work week official for certain industries and puts a cap on total annual overtime. The government's official goal here is to create more flexibility and, bring all that informal, under-the-table work out into the open.
So, as you can probably guess, this is super controversial. On one side, the government and its supporters argue that, hey, this actually helps workers by making sure they get paid and compensated for extra hours they're probably already working informally. But on the other side, unions and critics have a completely different take. They're warning that this law just legalizes exploitation, turning all that unpaid overtime into official policy, all without fixing the real problem, those stagnant low wages.
So let's talk about the long game. What are the long-term risks here? Critics are basically saying that this policy, which is supposed to fix one problem, could end up creating a bunch of even bigger ones down the road.
So, critics are pointing to 3 huge risks. First up, worker burnout. Longer hours could actually hurt productivity in the long run. Second, that brain drain we talked about, it could get even worse as these harsh conditions drive even more young talent abroad. And finally, a deeper demographic crisis, because the strain of overwork makes it a whole lot harder for people to start and raise families.
And this quote, I think, really gets to the heart of the matter. The challenge for Greece isn't getting people to work harder. The data shows they're already doing that. The real challenge is about improving productivity, so all that hard work actually leads to better pay and a better life.
And that leaves us with this one big question. For Greece, and maybe for a lot of other economies facing similar problems, is the answer really just to work harder? Or is it to fundamentally change how we work, to become smarter and more productive? It's a huge question, and right now, Greece is answering it in a way that makes it a real outlier.